The moment you stop desperately trying to control everything, chasing results, forcing life to bend to your expectations, things begin to fall into place in ways you couldn't have planned. And it doesn't happen because you gave up. It happens because you finally created space. Space for clarity, space for alignment, space for life to actually reach you.
See, we live in a world that glorifies the chase, hustle culture, manifestation hacks, obsessive goal setting. It's always about running towards something. But here's the truth no one talks about. The more you chase something from a place of lack, the more you confirm to your subconscious mind that you don't have it. And your reality? It listens to that signal. It mirrors it. When you're in a constant state of pursuit, your energy becomes tight, your body gets anxious, your decisions become reactive instead of intentional, and you end up making life harder than it needs to be. But there's something powerful that starts to happen when you stop chasing. Not because you've given up, but because you've shifted. You let go of the need to control every outcome. You stop negotiating with life through fear. You stop running after people, attention, or success, hoping they'll finally make you feel whole. Instead, you create stillness, and from that stillness, you begin to attract. This isn't some surface level advice about just stop caring. It's a shift in frequency, a shift in presence, because when your identity is wrapped in the chase, you'll never recognize the moment it finally arrives. You'll still be running, still searching. Most people think that stopping the chase means losing momentum, but it's actually the opposite. Let's break this illusion. When you're constantly chasing something, whether it's love, validation, success, or even inner peace, your energy says one thing: I don't have it yet. And that's exactly what your reality keeps reflecting back. You stay stuck in that cycle of almost happy, almost there, almost healed. It's exhausting. But the moment you shift out of that desperation, something changes. Instead of acting from a place of fear of missing out, fear of not being enough, you begin to move with calm clarity. You no longer seek from lack, you create from wholeness. That subtle difference, it transforms everything. Because here's what chasing does. It pulls you away from presence. And when you're not present, you miss everything. You don't notice the right opportunity when it shows up. You don't feel your intuition when it's guiding you. You don't hear the truth in your own silence because you're too busy screaming into the void, begging life to listen. But life isn't deaf. It's just waiting for you to calm down long enough to receive. This is why people say the right person shows up when you stop looking, or why the best ideas come when you're in the shower, not when you're forcing yourself to brainstorm. It's not magic. It's alignment. It's your nervous system finally being still enough to notice what was always trying to reach you. You don't need to abandon your goals, but you need to release your grip on the outcome, obsessing over how and when it'll happen. That's what blocks it. There's a difference between showing up with intention and showing up with obsession. One is powerful, the other is draining. When you stop chasing, you give yourself permission to live. You slow down, you breathe again, and most importantly, you remember that your worth was never attached to the thing you were running after. And from that grounded place, the things that are meant for you finally have a chance to arrive. So what actually happens when you stop chasing? It's not that life suddenly hands you everything you ever wanted overnight. It's that your perception changes, and that's more powerful than you realize. See, when you're chasing something, you're placing it outside of yourself. You create this invisible wall between you and the thing you desire. It becomes something out there, something separate, something you believe you're not yet worthy of. And every time you try to force it closer, you reinforce the idea that it's not already yours. That mindset alone quietly sabotages your progress. But when you stop chasing, you begin to embody the state you thought the goal would bring you. Instead of running toward peace, you become peaceful. Instead of desperately searching for love, you become loving. That shift changes what you attract, but more importantly, it changes what you accept. Think about it like this. A person who is chasing success will say yes to anything that looks like progress, even if it burns them out, even if it makes them miserable, even if it means sacrificing their mental health. Why? Because they're afraid the real thing might not come, so they settle for the illusion. But a person who has stopped chasing, that person is selective, grounded, unbothered by the noise. They don't chase, they choose. That level of inner peace is magnetic. You begin to notice things you overlooked before, the people who genuinely care, the quiet moments that actually feel like freedom, the abundance that's already in your life, but was buried beneath all that noise in your head. And here's the wild part, people notice it too. There's a silent confidence that comes with no longer needing anything outside yourself to complete you. You stop oversharing, you stop proving, you stop explaining your worth, and people feel that. You're no longer projecting insecurity, you're radiating clarity. Opportunities that once felt out of reach begin to find their way to you, not because you hustled harder, but because you finally became the version of yourself who was ready to hold them. You don't have to play by the rules of a world that profits off your panic. When you stop chasing, you reclaim something sacred, your attention, your peace, your power to respond rather than react. And in that stillness, you start to build from alignment rather than anxiety. And let's be honest, how many decisions in your past came from pressure rather than presence? That's what chasing does. It blinds you with urgency, but when you finally stop, when you exhale and look around, you see that you were never behind. You were just distracted. There's a strange irony in life. The more desperately you want something, the more it seems to slip through your fingers. Not because you're cursed, but because desperation creates noise, and noise blocks intuition. When you're constantly chasing, whether it's a person, a goal, or some version of success, you're not actually listening to life. You're trying to overpower it. You're trying to bend the world to your will. And that tension, that friction, it leaves no space for clarity. You think you're being proactive, but what you're really doing is avoiding the stillness that would have shown you what actually matters. Here's something no one tells you. Most of what you chase isn't even yours. Think about that. A lot of the things people run after, the job titles, the relationships, the status, they were inherited, handed down by culture, by family, by social media, by fear. But when you slow down enough to question why you want something, you start to uncover something deeper. Maybe you didn't want love. You wanted to stop feeling invisible. Maybe you didn't want success. You just didn't want to feel like a failure. This is what makes stopping so powerful. Because when you stop chasing, you're forced to face yourself. Not the version of you that's always doing, but the one underneath. The one that quietly asks, what do I really want? And who told me I couldn't already be it? And that's where transformation begins. Not with more hustle, not with more effort, but with brutal clarity. Because chasing often comes from a hidden belief that you're not enough, that you're lacking, that if you just get one more thing, then you'll finally be okay. But once you pause, you begin to see that your worth doesn't increase the more you achieve. It was always there. It was just buried under layers of performance. And here's where things get powerful. When you stop chasing and start choosing, life becomes less about proving and more about aligning. You stop asking, how do I get there? And start asking, does that even feel like me? That's when the energy shifts. You're no longer walking into rooms hoping to be picked. You walk in already knowing you belong, or choosing to walk away when it's not right. You don't beg for love. You are love. You don't try to earn your place. You claim it by being fully you. And slowly, everything starts to align. Not because you chased it, but because you made space for it to find you. Here's something worth sitting with. When you stop chasing, life doesn't stop moving. It starts flowing. That's the part nobody tells you. You've been trained to believe that if you're not running full speed ahead, you're falling behind. That if you're not constantly grinding, pushing, obsessing, then you're losing. But have you ever noticed how the most powerful people in the room aren't the loudest? They're the calmest. Because real power doesn't chase, it attracts. When you stop chasing, you shift from force to magnetism. It's a mental shift that changes everything, from needing to knowing, from scarcity to trust. Suddenly, you stop trying to convince people to stay in your life. You stop begging for recognition. You stop trying to micromanage every outcome. Instead, you start choosing what matches your peace, your energy, and your values. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. And that alignment changes the game. The way you walk into rooms changes. The way you respond to life changes. The way you hold yourself, completely different. People start sensing it too. Not because you're louder, but because you're anchored. Think of it like this, a tree doesn't chase sunlight. It simply grows toward it. And the stronger its roots, the more it thrives through every season. That's what happens when you stop chasing. You start rooting into who you really are. You grow upward, but also inward. You stop reaching for things that don't even feed you. That's when your energy becomes different. You're no longer easily shaken by rejection because you're no longer seeking validation from places that were never meant to see you. You're no longer drained by people who only show up when they need something because you've stopped entertaining connections that don't reciprocate. You become quieter, but more powerful. And that power is not about control. It's about presence. You stop chasing outcomes and start mastering your responses. You stop trying to bend life into a straight line and start flowing with its curves, its pauses, its unexpected turns. You realize that not getting what you wanted was often a redirection, not a punishment. And from this place, things come to you. Not because you demanded them, but because you became the person who no longer needs to demand anything. You stopped proving. You started being. And that shift from desperation to embodiment is where everything changes. And here's what no one teaches you. When you stop chasing, you start receiving in ways you never even expected. Not because you gave up, but because you finally gave in to the right things, to clarity, to self-worth, to stillness. You start making decisions not from fear, but from trust. And when your decisions are rooted in trust, your outcomes begin to reflect that inner shift. People begin treating you differently, not because they changed, but because your boundaries did. Because your silence started speaking louder than your old explanations. Because you no longer chase, so they step up or step away. And both are blessings. That's the moment everything starts making sense. You're no longer constantly exhausted, constantly anxious, constantly proving your value. You're no longer hooked into outcomes or timelines that were never yours to begin with. You realize peace is not something to chase, it's something to protect. And when you protect it, your whole reality changes shape. Even the way you experience time changes. Moments feel fuller, conversations feel more real. Life slows down, not because less is happening, but because you're no longer rushing past it. You're in it fully. You're present, and in that presence, you start to notice the things that actually matter, the things you used to miss while chasing something else. You don't become passive, you become precise. You don't stop caring, you start caring better. And the irony? The less you force, the more flows to you. Opportunities show up when you're not fixated on needing them. Love deepens when you're not desperate for it. People respect you more when you respect your energy enough to stop running after what isn't yours. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you reclaim your life. Not in theory, in practice, in energy, in how you show up today, in how you carry yourself into every room, into every decision, into every silence. You don't need to chase to be chosen. You don't need to run to arrive. You just need to remember who you are before the world told you to become someone else. There's a moment that quietly arrives when you've exhausted yourself trying to control every outcome, impress every person, and hold together things that were never meant to be yours in the first place. That moment is silence, not from the world, but from within you. And in that silence, something begins to click. You realize it was never about chasing anything. It was about remembering that you were already enough before you even started running. Letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the decision to stop negotiating your peace in exchange for the temporary validation. It's not giving up. It's waking up. Because here's the truth. Everything you chased from desperation either ran from you or broke you. But the things you attracted in moments of alignment, those are the things that felt real, effortless, and grounding. They were drawn to your presence, not your pressure. You don't have to fight to be seen. You don't have to beg to be chosen. When you stop chasing, the things that resonate with your real self begin to stay. Not because you chased them down, but because they recognized where they belonged. People will call it mysterious. They'll say you glow differently, but it's not mystery, it's mastery. It's what happens when you stop outsourcing your power to things outside of you. When you stop bending over backward trying to earn what should come naturally. When you stop running toward every open door and instead wait for the one that actually leads somewhere. You stop trying to be enough for everyone and start being more than enough for yourself And yes, that shift may make some people uncomfortable. That's okay. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to align with what's true. So ask yourself right now, what are you still chasing that has already shown you it doesn't value your effort? What weight are you carrying that was never yours to begin with? This is your sign to put it down, to stop begging, to stop proving, to stop running, and just return to your breath, to your body, to your peace. Because that's when everything starts to change. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped forcing yourself. If this hits something real for you, I want you to drop a comment below. Let me know, what are you letting go of starting today? And if you found this valuable, subscribe. Not for numbers, but for alignment. This space is here to remind you of everything you already are. Your energy belongs here.